Hello, hello, hello. This is your boy Brandon Correia, aka EF Hutton of Entertainment. We are back with another episode review, and the TV show up today is The Boys. Yet again, like I've mentioned before, I am late on catching up with these episodes. I had a lot of stuff going on when the episodes dropped, so I am now catching up. So let's get into episode 7. So obviously the previous video that I dropped was a reaction. I was just testing something out just to see how I liked it, how viewers like it. I'm just testing some stuff out here on the channel. So just for episode 7 and 8, I think I'm just going to drop a review for now. And following up from the previous episode being Herogasm, obviously a lot of outlandish stuff. Outlandish just murders and gore and blood and obviously sex because of the orgasm of superheroes. So a lot of debauchery and outlandish lawlessness that was going on. And this episode, what The Boys tends to do is they tend to hit the audience with a lot of outlandish debauchery, gore, sex, all that stuff that was packaged in that Herogasm episode. Just like episode 1 and 2, to me were really in that same vein. Like I know it wasn't as like outlandish as the orgasm scenes and stuff in episode 6, but honestly, episodes 1 and 2 had a lot of just craziness, The Boys craziness. But what they like to do is obviously, and it doesn't sacrifice plot or story at any point. And The Boys, to me, does such a good job of having that outlandish, crazy shit that we see on screen that has our jaw dropped, but they're able to still have character moments, have character development, have story arcs and plot move forward and progressed well and paced well while the debauchery and foolishness is going on, right? So that's why to me, like I think that The Boys is honestly like a really, really excellent show and one of the best shows out there, especially in the superhero genre, just because like I just mentioned, it does a good job of doing both of those things, right? And this episode, coming off of Herogasm, we see their kind of similar pattern where it was dialed down a lot, not even like a little bit, like a lot, right? Compared to, like, there's obviously going to be gore and blood because that's like the center of it, right? Like the first like mind-blowing scene in episode 1 of the whole series is Huey's girlfriend Robin like literally blowing up into pieces. Like that scene to this day has my jaw dropped. So in episode 7, there's obviously still like gory parts when like certain moments happened. I'll go into it later. But for the most part, this episode was toned down a lot. We basically see Butcher, Soldier Boy, and Huey at the Legends house, basically kind of just recouping and trying to gather their thoughts from the whole incident that happened at the Herogasm event. And we see that Butcher and Huey are just out there trying to look for his team, Soldier Boy's old team, because that's what his mission is right now. He just wants to hunt down his old team. And he states, he's like, help me find the rest of them. Because obviously, like, basically in the moment, in the episode before, we saw that when the time came and Homelander actually showed up, Soldier Boy actually was fighting him, basically. And like to him, he was probably like, yo, like I did help you out, and like, but we still need to handle my team, and then like I'll help you out with Homelander. And Huey comes up with after discussing some things, Huey comes up with a way to basically track one of the other members. I can't seem to remember his name, but it was one of the members of Payback that was able to mind control people. That might be his name on the little mind control or some shit. Like I'm blanking right now, but they basically figure that out and they track him to like a particular cabin. And so while this is going on, we're bouncing back and forth from this to like MM's apartment where Frenchie and Kimiko come all battered up, injured. Annie's there because we see that from the previous episode. Annie was with MM. And there's just these nice moments with between Annie and Kimiko where they kind of bond over alcohol. And Kimiko's like, this is my first drink. And maybe because obviously she's been dealing with all this stuff, she's never had a time to just chill out and have a drink. Or maybe she's never really been able to feel it because of her powers. Obviously, but it doesn't matter. In that moment, they were having like a good like sister moment while Frenchie and MM were discussing things about like how to take out Soldier Boy, how to knock him out, because they were watching a video where they did end up knocking him out. So they were trying to figure out what they did to do that. So they're plotting. So it's kind of going back and forth from there to where Butcher, Huey, and Soldier Boy track mind control. I'm gonna just call him mind control. Let me know in the comments if I'm completely wrong with this superhero's name that they were tracking. But they're tracking him, they tracked him, and it's bouncing back and forth. So one of the big, like the crux of the episode is basically where they're kind of creeping through the forest and mind control comes out of nowhere and mind controls Butcher, knocks him out. Like basically he's just like sleep, knocked out. And you see Soldier Boy basically be like, yeah, like unless he comes and wakes him up, there's no way of waking him up. And he basically puts people in their nightmare until like they die of dehydration. A lot of the time is spent like tracking mind control. And when they end up finding him, Huey teleports him back because Soldier Boy was about to kill him. Huey teleports him back to Butcher, pleads with him, talks to him just like on a human level, and convinces him to wake up Butcher. But while this is going on, while they're tracking him, we get a lot more of Billy Butcher's backstory and his upbringing as a child and why he is the way he is. And just why he acts certain ways towards Huey and why he acted towards him like that, even from the beginning of the series. So this was a very important episode because there's been hints of just showing that like he's had an abusive father when he went back to meet his father. And just obviously it's been mentioned a lot throughout the episodes. And then obviously there's times where he mentions his brother and his younger brother. And we actually get like a full flashback because the nightmare is basically him leading up to a point where he's looking out for his brother, but his dad is abusive to both of them. And it just gets to a point where he gets sick of it and he ends up leaving. But then the little brother is like, if you leave, like he's just going to turn to me and just start wailing on me and whatever. So we see in the flashback that ends up being true. And because he left and he never came back, the younger brother got really sick and tired and just got like fed up and he ended up taking his own life. So there was just like, so that was like a really good chunk of the episode. And it was a great moment that was needed to kind of shine more light on Billy Butcher because he is the main character, and it really did help the audience. Well, it did help me to just sympathize with him even more because he does really have that tough guy exterior, and Carl Urban really does a good job of like portraying that tough guy exterior and not even like, and really just coming off as like an asshole while doing it. But this episode really, he was able to show his softer side, more compassionate side. And just, it really just shined a light on why Butcher does a lot of the things that he does. So, and again, like I said, that was the biggest chunk in the crux of the episode. And again, while that's going on, there's the Frenchie, Annie stuff. And I think a point that I missed is Kimiko basically asked Annie while they were sharing a drink to see if she could get her more compound V because she wants to get her powers back so that she could protect her family, and that she feels like she can't protect her family like in this state. So she basically asked her for that. Annie goes and does that. There's a moment between her and Homelander where it seems like Homelander's just trying to be like, yo, like threaten her to be like, go in like the studio and apologize for all this and before the company, goes to shit, whatever. And she basically exposes that she's on Instagram Live with her like whatever 100 millions of followers while he's like talking. And he gets frustrated, obviously, and like he has nothing to say. He's blank because obviously he can't be seen snapping on because he cares about the ratings and shit, right? So it was a good play by Starlight. And going back to the Butcher storyline, Huey ends up taking mind control back to Butcher to wake him up. After Butcher, we see all the Butcher nightmares and the stuff about his little brother. We basically see Butcher wake up and he has a nice moment just seeing Huey like kind of for the first time again. And Mind Control's like, yo, like Huey, like, can you like get me out of here now? And all you see is a knife just get flung right through this man's eye. So dunning up his powers, basically he can't do no mind control because he does it through the eyes, like a genjutsu, Naruto genjutsu. And Soldier Boy knocks him on the ground, puts a bag over his head, and Huey tries to talk him out of it, and he knocks Huey back. Butcher goes to like see if he's okay, and it's kind of away from him. And obviously they planned it out. Obviously, this is gonna be a spoil. This is gonna be a spoiler. They definitely they obviously planned it out so that when Huey would get knocked back and Butcher went over, they wouldn't be able to hear the conversation that we see Soldier Boy have with Mind Control before he kills him. And he's basically asking him who orchestrated the plot to like get him captured. And obviously and the twins in the previous episode said Noir, and I think even Crimson Countess might have said Noir too. But also, while this is going on, sorry, I missed a point. While the two side stories are going on, we actually see more character development and just more backstory of Noir. We don't really get too much of him, but we really do in this episode. And we see obviously like he's like lonely and an introvert, and he basically goes into this like abandoned like theater or something like this. It's like a small theater, and there's just like cartoon figurines on the wall, and they basically come to life, like kind of like Roger Rabbit, like kind of animation. And this was basically symbolizing that the hard thing, and they say to him, they're like, we got you through the erection that you got in 7th grade. So this moment was just highlighting that this is where he would come, and these are like the characters that would help him get through these serious moments in his life that he seemed like he was having a hard time dealing with. So it basically gets to a point where, because they're like, talk to us, like you keep repressing this particular thing, like talk to us. And it basically shows why that he was the one that ended up turning on Soldier Boy, but it laid out why he ended up turning on him. That like he was abusive to all the team, that he went like that Noir went for a audition to be Axel Foley in Beverly Hills Cop, and that because Soldier Boy was already acting, he didn't want another actor on the group. So he basically like beat his ass, whooped his ass, and told him to stay in line. So after all this build up, Noir was on board because Vought and Stan Edgar did come to him with this potential option, and him and the team agreed. And it basically reenacted that same fight, or that same moment where they were talking about, it was kind of, I think it was similar to the moment where Grace Mallory was explaining what happened, right? And it showed like Noir's head was like split. But based on the reenactment, it was like the cartoon reenactment, it was showing that the team turned on them and turned on Soldier Boy, and tried to gang up on him, and he like overpowered them to a degree. And it wasn't until Crimson Countess came with the mask, and I'm guessing that same gas, from behind and knocked him out. So I'm wondering if that is the true story, and I'm guessing it is. But that's surprising because obviously, like, it's like, why would Grace Mallory lie about that? Or maybe she was just so thrown off in the moment with all the explosions and stuff that she couldn't really piece it together. But we also see in this reenactment that because the team was fighting, trying to gang up on Soldier Boy ended up smashing Noir's head, and he like lost a piece of his brain. And that's why he ended up not being able to talk, because before he did have the ability to talk. That's why he went to try and audition for Beverly Hills Cop. So just really, really good backstory. And the way that they decided to tell his backstory was very interesting. Not like a typical, especially because he can't talk. It was a very, very, very interesting way, and a great way to decide to explain his backstory. So going into the next episode, I'm guessing that they're going to wrap up that storyline, and we're going to see kind of more, because the cartoon characters kind of said to him, we got to deal with this. The cartoon characters were like, you got to deal with this. So And we basically see Noir kind of stand up and leave. So maybe there's going to be some kind of confrontation. And because obviously now, and moving on to the last big thing of the episode, and this is like a big spoiler, but we basically see Homelander on the phone just trying to like get people to spin the story because he was caught on live saying all that stuff. And his receptionist called in and was like, Soldier Boy's on the line for you. And he's like, put him through. And he's like, is this actually you? And Soldier Boy basically starts to go into this speech, and this little kind of like monologue thing. And he basically reveals that, and we kind of found out from a couple scenes ago, when Soldier Boy was smashing and was about to kill Mind Control, he asked him why Vought would be so okay with getting rid of me. And we found out the scene before that Homelander was on the way, and that's why they wanted to get rid of Soldier Boy. So we already knew that information. So when he found that, so when he, from afar, us as the audience from afar, from Huey and Butcher's perspective, see Soldier Boy get that information, we're not confirmed. We can't confirm yet that that's the information that he got. So when he leaves and we find him now on the phone call with Homelander, he basically reveals that Homelander was made from his genes and that he ended up just busting in a cup, and that's when they decided to make Homelander. And he basically drops the line like, I would have gladly given you the spotlight. Why wouldn't any father do that for his son? Yo, I was dying. And I'm like, that actually got me. And then the episode ends with that. That actually got me and threw me off, because I was just like, yo, one say word. And I'm like, I guess that makes sense. And I'm just like, why didn't I piece that together? But then I was like, two, I'm like, this man just hit him with a Darth Vader, I am your father moment. And this guy was so thrown off. And I know Homelander, I don't know, I can't tell if Homelander's like thrown off for cheese or if he's just mad giddy and he's like, yes, like I have a father, like, yes. So that's how the episode ends. Good episode, not as outlandish, more quiet, a lot of plot-driven, character-driven moments in this episode as we approach the finale. So that is it for this episode. It ran a little longer than I expected, so we're going to end it here. Like I said, that's it for this video. If you think you would like content like this, we got a lot of TV shows coming down the line. Lord of the Rings, House of the Dragon, She-Hulk, Andor. Got a lot of shows coming down the line that I'm going to be reviewing. So if you think you'd be interested in content like that, stuff like trailer reactions, sports discussions, all that good talk, make sure you subscribe to my channel and leave in the comments what you liked about this episode and what your favorite part of the series, of this season, has been so far. Appreciate you for watching.